the time, your gateway to the world. A-F-R! American Freedom Radio. Give it to them.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and happy Tuesday. It is May 14, 2013. Hope you are having a beautiful day. Wow, I just got word that it was 97 in Minnesota today. How crazy is that? Of course, we all knew that was hell anyways, so I'm just kidding. I love Minnesota. Anyways, thanks so much for joining us here tonight. Soul Journeys Radio on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. This is the first Tuesday of the month for us, which means we are joined by the lovely Shaman Avalon Sakti. She is going to speak with us about mind control and resisting it, as well as entity manipulation. Her website is sacredserpent.net. That's sacredserpent.net. I'll be posting her link and some other great articles she has in the text chat if you would like to join us over at souljourneysradio.com. You could just click on listen and chat and join our happy little family. As well, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to give us a call at 218-339-8525. That's 218-339-8525. It's so good to have you here tonight, Sakti. How are you doing? Uh-oh, gotta unmute yourself. Okay, here we go. There we go.
Hello, Christie and everybody else. I'm very happy to be here again. It's been a busy time, but I always make that time for the show.
Yay! Well, we are certainly happy for that, so. All right. Oh, I guess I was wrong. It wasn't 97 in Minnesota. It was 98. Holy smokes. All right. Well, we have a big topic tonight. Resisting mind control and entity manipulation. So if we could kind of start off with, I definitely want to get into how we can recognize that our mind is being influenced by external forces. But let's first talk about what entity manipulation is.
Well, entities we've spoken about before, they are invisible beings on the astral planes or interdimensional beings, and some of them can invade our mind in a sort of telepathic way, would probably be the best way of describing it. So they can implant thoughts in our minds that we might think are our own thoughts if we are not very discerning. It all depends on whether you are in the habit of constantly observing yourself and your own mind and your thoughts. Most people are not in that habit. Whenever something gets into their head, they think it is them who are thinking the thought. And therefore it's very easy to put thoughts in somebody's mind, and most people won't recognize that this is actually an alien thought. Now the question is, why would entities want to do that? Of course, they have an agenda. They want to influence you in a certain direction. And this direction is almost always not for your own good. It's often something very, very detrimental to you or your loved ones. As we've heard many times of people that said that, God told them to kill their children and themselves or other crazy things. This would be an extreme example of this kind of mind manipulation. Mm-hmm. And some people are very gullible, and whatever they hear in their own mind, they go along with it. Sometimes these entities will say things that they are angels or higher beings, ascended masters, to make the people buy into what they've got to say. And they may bring up some kind of pseudo-spiritual slogans and things that sound good and feel good to get the people hooked first until they come with the nastier things.
Okay, so like as in channeling, or the ones that, I'm so special, I'm talking to this alien entity and we're here to save the world and all you have to do is follow me because this entity told me all the answers. Oh, and only me?
Yes, that is part of it. It doesn't always have to be like that. So there can be two different forms. One is where you hear actually somebody speaking that you understand is something external, so such as, hey, I'm Jesus, or or I'm an ascended master XYZ, or I come from the planet whatever, and I'm here to teach you wonderful things because you are special and you are the chosen one, with a little ego massage. And and that is one possibility. The other possibility is that something will say to you like, your friend Susan is evil, stay away from her. And but it won't say your friend Susan. It will suddenly think, it will say like, I don't like Susan anymore. I think she may be evil. Because it will speak in the I form, you then think it's you who is thinking. And suddenly your friend who was your best friend all your life, you feel bad about her. And then it will say other things like she's selfish, or she wants your man, or it'll come up with something. And usually it comes up with whatever is your weakness. So, because these external entities are telepathic, so they can read your thoughts like a book. Whatever you're afraid of, they can scare you with whatever your issues are and your buttons. This is what they're going to use against you and to manipulate you with.
Okay. All right. So thanks for clarifying that. I just know that... I believe that we all have been subjected to some form of mind control or, exogenous influences, entities, etc. However, when we are under the influence, we have no idea. We think everyone else is mind controlled. So maybe we can talk a little bit about how to recognize that our mind is being influenced.
Exactly. Now, that is really not easy, but it can be done, and it can be done by anybody with a little bit of effort. First thing is, you need to get into a habit to observe your mind every day. Then you will know which thoughts are your own thoughts and which are not. For example, It is a very practical method is start off with taking a miniature notepad with you wherever you go, and when you notice a negative thought, you write it down. So, for example, during the daytime, you might be thinking things like, I'm good for nothing, or I'm ugly, or I'm stupid. A lot of people have these programs. And whenever you think of this, write it down. Of course, you should then immediately replace this with the opposite thought, that you are intelligent and you're not stupid, and so on. But the essence of it is you want to get an idea first what your normal thoughts are. And if you do this over a period of time, like a week or two, you will get some idea what your normal thoughts are and in which grooves your mind runs. And then, of course, you should be working on replacing a negative thought so that you can start deactivating your buttons. When you have a thought that is not your own, it is often contrary to what you believe. As in my example, if you had a friend that you felt is your best friend for so many years, you always trusted her 100%, all of a sudden you think there's something wrong with her and that she is manipulative or negative towards you, and you see her in a very different light, or you suddenly have a hatred or anger against her that you can't understand because there's been no incident. Then at that moment, you see, this is how it works, and I've experienced it myself. And I have noticed that what was going on, because when I got these thoughts about somebody that I trusted and respected, and these thoughts were very negative, I immediately thought, where does that come from? Because I respect this person. So how come that I'm now thinking the opposite to what I just thought 10 minutes ago?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's really good advice, is just kind of keep track of your thoughts, just notice them, and then when something, comes up that you haven't really remembered thinking about before, you can kind of look back at what you thought and then realize that, something might be going on here.
It's easier to notice in somebody else. Let's say if you had a good friend and this friend was acting totally out of character, then you would notice this and would think, what's wrong with him today? He's not like normal. He doesn't like the things he normally likes. He gets angry about things that didn't seem to bother him. Then you think, like, what's got into him? We actually say this as a term of speech, what got into him.
Yes.
As in possession, right? Like, what kind of evil spirit got into him?
Uh-huh.
But with oneself, we always have more problems seeing our own flaws than the flaws of another. So with yourself, you have to just be very, very observant all the time and be the witness. That is a yogic method. The Buddhists call it mindfulness. So you have to, at all times during the day, basically observe your own thoughts like a monitor. Not to be judgmental, but so that you can get an idea of your own mind. That is a very good mental discipline because, first of all, it will help you to weed out the negative thoughts which are going to manifest negative things in your life. But it will also make you aware when suddenly you are acting out of character. If you, for example, get angry about a very tiny thing, you have to ask yourself also whether this is maybe some tiny thing which is a personal trigger to yourself. Such as, let's say, when you were in school, your school teacher always said you were the dumbest in the class, which of course wasn't true, but you started to believe it. Now, when somebody calls you dumb, you just blow your top. That would be an example of your own issue. So if you know your triggers and you know that you have certain hang-ups and that you haven't been able to totally deal with, then you think, yeah, okay, here's my hang-up, but I'll control myself. This time I'm not going to explode. But if you get angry when there is absolutely no reason that makes sense to you, then it's possible that the entities haven't just manipulated your mind, but your emotions. And I see that a lot when I'm working with people to clear them of entities. People have told me that that some people had total anger that you couldn't understand, and when the entity has been actually removed, they don't have this type of anger anymore. These entities manipulate us by causing us negative emotions. There are entities that specialize on causing you anger, and other entities specialize on producing grief. They get you in situations that cause you maximum pain, like breaking up your relationships. And then when you're in this grief energy, you are basically producing a certain frequency, which these entities then feed on. You're feeding them each time you're in grief. Another entity likes the anger energy as its food, same as we prefer an apple or a banana.
Okay.
So to watch when you're being manipulated by entities, you will have thoughts that are not your own, or you will have emotions that are either not your own or that are greatly amplified in a negative way. And these entities have the agenda usually of dividing us, divide and conquer, and they particularly try to prevent you from doing something positive, spiritually especially. I've seen, for example, if you're going to a ceremony where entities will be removed, that on the way to the ceremony, I've seen that people arguing and having a go at each other. That was unbelievable. And so that you just start to wonder, like, what film am I in? Like, what kind of drama is that? And that was the build-up, because the entities know that you're going to do a shamanic ceremony and they will be removed, and so they don't want you to go there, so they make all the participants quarrel beforehand so that they will in anger storm out of the door, not take part in the ceremonies, and the entities can keep on living in them. This may sound really strange to some people. I understand if people don't know anything about entities. Please research that first. But they are very real. Shamans have believed in them for probably millennia, since we had shamanism, and shamans in all cultures know about entities.
Definitely. Okay. Very well said.
Thank you, Christie. Some of these entities, they are astral critters that can look like worms or snakes or spiders and so on. We've talked about this before.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Did we lose you? Okay, I'm not hearing Shakti anymore, so maybe we're having one of those issues, but definitely she has brought up a lot of questions and a lot of information so far, so hopefully we will get her back on the line as soon as humanly possible. Entities be gone. But if you've listened to our previous shows, she's definitely talked about this before, and what she's describing in the anger, grief, emotions, etc., that's usually what mainstream society or the medical establishment will call depression or anxiety or bipolar or ADD or ADHD or all of these other, diagnoses, labels that they have for people with normal and sometimes not so normal human emotions. As far as entity removal, I know there's a few people in the chat, including myself, who Shakti has worked on, that she's just done a tremendous job. I would love to ask her if the entity removal will help with long-term anger issues, grief, etc., because sometimes the issues we have here, unfortunately, in this society, and I'll use myself as an example. I think pretty much everyone who listens to the show knows that I was sick for, about 30 years and maybe 35 years, and I really thought that that's what life was about. The self-hate, the guilt, all of this stuff. I had no idea what normal thinking was or what reality was, although at the time I certainly thought I did. So, I hear the music. Hopefully we can get Shakti back here during this short break, so stay tuned, everyone. We will be right back. SoulJourneysRadio.com.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarium. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
No rules. No rules. No taboo topics. No taboo topics. No fear of doom. No fear of doom. We are American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio.
All right, welcome back, and thanks for joining us here tonight. Soul Journeys Radio on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. We are discussing resisting mind control and entity manipulation with Shaman Avalon Sakti. Her website is sacredserpent.net. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to give us a call, 218-339-8525. That's 218-339-8525. And if you'd like to join us on the text chat, that's over at souljourneysradio.com. We left off with Shakti was speaking with us about the different types of entities, astral parasites, etc. And right before you got cut off, you said snakes and worms and something else in there. And that reminds me of a few dreams and visions I've had. So, wow, please go on. Please continue.
Thank you so much, Christy, and also about bringing up the dreams, because sometimes when the entity problems start, when the entities start to try to get control of a person, it begins with nightmares. And that is one of the typical signs. And especially with children, the entities often take control of children before the aura has fully formed, which is at age 4. So often the parents will later on say the child had a period where he or she had a lot of nightmares, and then afterwards the child's character changed. And that tells you that the entity has taken a part of the soul of the child, or taken control and even possessed the child. It's very, very common for people to have entities, and I basically haven't met a single person yet when I did clearing who didn't have at least one. Sometimes they're only very small ones, and the small ones don't manipulate the mind so much, they just leech energy. But the more wily ones that manipulate the mind, they are very, very common. They cause major havoc in our lives, and they can do very bad damage to your astral body, etheric body, which then affects your whole being, including your health.
That makes sense. You shared with us previously, I mean, I don't want to go on about it, but I do just want to put a reminder out there with the entities that they are pretty much what causes different addictions that we have, or maybe emotional problems as well. But I did want to point out, because we have talked about it a little bit on the show here, and I've spoke with you personally about it, but a situation that I got to learn and grow from about 5 or 6 months ago. I remember telling you I'm having these weird dreams and all these bugs are in my bed and, you know, worms and snakes, and it was a real trip. Had I known what it meant, I would have been able to recognize right away that somebody is trying to get a hold of me here, and obviously the situation, you know, Shakti was able to help me with it and teach me what I needed to know to clear it. But yeah, that's really interesting that is a sign that we can definitely, you know, if we experience that, pay attention to it. Our dreams aren't just dreams, you know, they actually mean something, they're messages.
That's right, Christie. And there are the astral parasite type entities, which are very common, and most of them just want to leech our energy, and some of them want to leech a particular energy that they get through our grief or anger, so they have an agenda. And then there are interdimensional entities, some of them very powerful, that like to harm people, and they also have an agenda for mankind as a whole. And they try to push people in a direction which is not good for us, for our planet, and for the development of mankind on this planet. And they have taken hold of many people's minds and tried to manipulate them to do things which are, well, for lack of a better term, evil and well, not productive, but making things worse for us on this planet. And often they manipulate people through greed for power, sex, that's another one of the buttons. And yeah, money and greed. Mm-hmm. Anger, lust, and greed pretty much are the three main things, and these are the shortcomings that we need to look at so that we don't fall in the trap. And so our first step of resisting the mind control of entities, whether they be astral or interdimensional, is to recognize any alien thought patterns. That means you have to be very, very discerning about your thoughts, so that you can notice when there is a thought that has a slightly different flavor, that doesn't quite sound like your own voice in your head, but is slightly different, and there will be a very small difference, but with experience you will be able to notice that.
Okay, so number one, as far as resisting mind control, is to be, you know, do your due diligence, pay attention to your thoughts, as you mentioned the last segment. If you're not used to paying attention to your thoughts, then start writing them down in a little journal or something so that you can notice the changes when something different does come up.
Exactly, Christie. And it also makes sense that at the end of the day to assess, go back through your day and assess what happened, any kind of particular emotional events, and then just write down, got angry at my mother, was very angry at my boss or whatever, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you look at this, and then you have to go back in your memory and ask yourself, when I got angry at my mother, was that really me? But not like an excuse, it wasn't me, it was my entity that made me do it. But you have to ask yourself, what made me so angry in this situation? Was that an emotional trigger or a repetitive situation or pattern of mine that I'm holding? Or was that totally out of character what I did? And did this tiny thing maybe totally made me angry that shouldn't have made me that angry? If so, then most likely your entities have manipulated you into this unreasonable and exaggerated anger to divide you, to separate you from your mother, so that you will be weaker, because when we stand alone, we are weaker. Together, we are strong.
That makes sense. Now, and you just mentioned trigger. We did have a question earlier in regards to that. How do you know the difference? How do you know it isn't just a trigger, like being upset with what a person says, when it's just pointing out something in oneself?
Yeah, that's why you need to know your personal triggers and your own shortcomings. And to do this, you have to be absolutely ruthlessly honest with yourself. So it's a constant self-assessment every day. At the end of the day, look back at what happened during the day. Were there any situations where you could have done better? Were there situations where you were unkind to other people without reason for that?
Okay.
And if somebody did make you angry and you exploded, have you actually the ability to go back and apologize? Because by apologizing, you can often make things good again, and it takes the ego out of the equation. The ego doesn't like to apologize.
Okay, that makes sense. And when you were mentioning anger and grief and other emotions that they kind of manipulate us with, as far as your entity removals, will that help long-term anger, grief issues?
Yeah, if that is the reason, if the entity is creating grief in your life, and it can create it by creating bad situations. For example, let's say the entity wants...
Oh, here we go again. I think this was the question I was going to ask her last time. She got cut off, so... I guess we're not allowed to talk about that. Maybe we are angering or grieving the entities that may wish to keep us trapped. But I have faith it will work out. Of course, I'll just share with you right now my experience with Shakti. Are you back? All right.
Yeah. So let's not the entity win. So I said, if you have a situation where the entities want to break you up with your partner, they make both sides angry, then you break up, and then they will harvest the energy of grief that you are throwing out in the universe at that moment. And don't forget that this energy is throwing out all the anger, the pain, the grief. They go in the energy field of the earth and are stored there. And we all together, we are building up a field. And this field around the planet at the moment is extremely negative, because so many people are suffering, are in pain, in grief, in anger, and in fear. And then that field then affects everybody again, so that we all feel this kind of doom and fear and anger and grief, and are even more easy to go in these emotions. So it's like a ping pong ball going back between us and the global energy field that we have.
Definitely. And it's so funny when you start to break away from the fear game and the blame game, the people who are still in it get really mad at you. What do you mean you're not afraid of global warming? Or what do you mean you're not afraid of HAARP? Or you're not afraid, like they want to pull you back into that game. So let me ask you this. Somebody was asking on the chat, here, let me find the question, got to scroll up here again. Okay, how do you know if someone is reptilian, or I'll just kind of expand that question, if someone is reptilian, or, because I do want to put out there, not all reptilians are bad, but how do you know if someone is maybe being drained or affected or influenced or possessed by a negative entity, and when we do find out, what is the best course of action to protect ourselves? Okay,
so the reptilian part, I have my personal opinion on it based on what I've seen during my shamanic journeys and in my dream state, and I have never yet met a negative being that was a reptile. I've met snakes, dragons, and reptilian beings in my dreams and on journeys. None of them has ever been hostile to me or done me any harm.
Awesome.
The reptilians that some people are talking about, I haven't met. Maybe they exist, but I can't say for sure because I haven't met them. But, if you're telling somebody a story about something scary, and a lot of people buy into it and believe it, then we're creating this on the astral. So anything that people tell that has become like an urban legend I'm not saying that it is an urban legend, but we're giving something power, we are creating it on the astral.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know how much of this is. Some other shamans that I spoke to said that the reptilian issue is something that we are creating by constantly talking about it and thinking about it and scaring ourselves with.
Yeah.
I do think there are some beings that are living in the inner earth, and that some of them are lizard-like and reptilian-like, and I have met them on 1 or 2 occasions during my shamanic journeys, not in physical reality, and I did not find them negative. So I think that we shouldn't be thinking of what is influencing us is the reptilians.
Yeah.
I think we should really think more about the archons. The archons is something that we should be researching. But again, I do not think that's the only thing. There is an evil that has crept into this planet, and it has associated itself with certain people, and these people are completely taken over by this evil now. Some of them have become soulless. So they are just like empty shells walking around. And what I also noticed during shamanic journeying with, in some cases, I had a human being shell, outer shell, but the original soul had been evicted. And something else had been put inside. In one case, I could bring the original back and evict the usurper.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not an easy thing to do. If these people have actually sold their souls, I've had people who made contracts in past lives with beings in exchange for money, riches, and power. They said they'd be the slaves or servants of these beings after death, and then they come back in another incarnation, and these beings then molest them, harass them, or possess them.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad we're talking about this because there is a lot of hype. Oh, reptilians this, reptilians rule the world, reptilians are bad, and I know a few reptiles, and I don't think that. It's just like humans. You know, can you categorize humans as all good or all bad? Probably not. So it's a matter of perspective and, you know, where the individual is coming from. So there's probably a mix in just about everything we're talking about here, but it is that time. We have to take a short break, and I do see we have a caller on the line, so we will get with you after these few short minutes. Stay tuned, everyone. SoulJourneysRadio.com.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
Yo, what's up? Check this out. The voice of the revolution. American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio.
All right, welcome back, and thanks for joining us here tonight with Shaman Avalon Sakti. We are discussing resisting mind control and entity manipulation, and I do see we have a caller on the line, so let's do that before we move any further into the topic. Area code 818, welcome to the show.
Thank you. How are you guys? For girls.
Wonderful. How you doing tonight?
Great.
I'm good. Thank you. Just got off of work over here on sunny Southern California. feels good to be off of work.
All right.
And what you guys? Well, you guys are right on. Like, I feel like you say, everybody has an entity or a demon, and I always tell people, or my friends and my family or whatever, hey, how you doing? Or like, you know, fighting them devils, fighting demons, because I do fight demons. There's those temptations. It's like, for me, it's alcohol and pornography, and I'm married, and it just makes me want to go, like, watch something, and I shouldn't even do it, you know. I try to be so strong, and I try, and it's just like, that little thought, like you said, those thoughts that are not yours, that's what I'm referring to, because I check myself. I'm like, dude, I shouldn't even be thinking about that. What the heck? And I'm like, wait a minute, where are these thoughts coming from, you know? And it's like, how can I fight that? I know I have to fight just by being strong, having a strong will, but I know these are demons, literal demons inside my brain, like, telling me, like, oh, you know, it's okay. You know, like, drink some beer, it's okay.
Well, honey, first of all, I just want to thank you for being brave enough to call in and share this with us, and I just want to let you know you're definitely not alone. So with that, I know Shakti has some wonderful advice for you.
Yes, I'd like to say a few things on this topic. One, when you look at pornography, you're actually disempowering yourself, so keep that in mind. That'll help you a little bit. But the most important thing to know is that these entities, they want to pull us on a lower level spiritually. So they try to get us into the base chakra, where the sex, but this is more animal sex on the base chakra. It's the lowest form of sex, and with the pornography, they basically pull you on a low level spiritually. So this is their agenda, to basically contaminate you. And you will just have to, whenever these thoughts come up, you have to resist by replaced by a powerful positive thought. And there's various things you can do, as I'm going to talk about the methods of owning your own mind. When you notice a manipulation, start repeating your mantra if you have a personal mantra. If you haven't got one yet, then look into mantra yoga. Christie has put a link, and you can research this, and if you find out your personal deity, use a mantra and repeat that. And another way is that you do some loud devotional chanting immediately, or go for a walk. If necessary, take an ice cold shower. Just distract the mind and put it on something positive, or play with your dog or your kids, or go to your wife and tell her how much you love her, and just think of all the wonderful things that you have together that you would be defiling and throwing away if you let yourself be pulled in this vibration. I think it's really important. I think it's really important that we develop the virtues of our ancestors, and chastity was one of them. Nowadays, people look at you like there's something wrong with you if you want to practice chastity. Chastity is something people should be proud of.
Yeah, it's true. I always want to have that feeling to look at porn at night, and when I'm like under the influence of alcohol. That's the only time, because other than that, I'll be like, heck no, I'm not going to look at that, because I know that drains my energy. I know it. I even was talking to a gentleman on Saturday night, and he was telling me exactly like that, like, you know what drains your energies? I'm like, masturbating? He's like, exactly. And, you know, like, all this crazy stuff, and he was telling me about reptilians and...
Well, I'd just like to bring this up in regards to alcohol. They don't call it spirits for nothing.
That's right, Christie. And also I'd like to tell the caller that he might have an elemental. He might have created an elemental. Say, for example, if any action that you repeat often enough, say like smoking, then you will create an elemental, which is a kind of being that we've created ourselves through the repetitive action, that now has a reality and a life of its own, and that feeds on us whenever we repeat the action that has created it. So if you have looked at pornography very often, then you might have a pornography elemental. And if you don't keep on looking at the pornography, the elemental gets hungry. So it will try to push you into this by manipulating your mind. And this can be dealt with shamanically by removing the elemental, and then you will find it easier to free yourself from that habit.
Well, yes, I'm just glad. I know I could do it. I just need reinforcement, positive feedback, because I know that everybody, not everybody, but most people do know that the demons. We're fighting demons, we're fighting devils, the temptations, the women, the drink, the drugs, the easy money.
Exactly. These are the things that create so much havoc in our world. And if we can really sort ourselves out individually, we can turn this whole energy field around and live in harmony on this planet again. And it has to do with the sexual energy and the addictions. This is how they try to get us into the low life.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm so glad. But this is one thing that I thank God and I thank the universe and the Creator that I'm actually aware of what's happening. Because, like you said, there's people. And I know there's people that are not aware at all of what's even happening. They think it's normal. They think, I'm a drug addict, I'm a loser, I'm a drug, I'm a porn, but it's not. I just thank God that I'm aware because I want to fight this and I want to be the best that I can because we're fighting a new world order here.
Exactly. And also you brought up the masturbation topic. And there's another thing to look at here, and that is incubi and succubi, which are astral beings that prey on people. They are basically astral sexual predators. And people who masturbate a lot tend to get them because they get attracted to the fantasies. It isn't so much the act of masturbation, it's more the fantasies. When you have a particular fantasy that plays in your head when you're masturbating, then this attracts these predators and they will drain your energy in the night while you sleep. And then you will get dreams of a very beautiful woman who's basically sexually approaching you. And these beings attach themselves to you. I've seen them being removed shamanically by other shamans from people in ceremonies. And these people's body went ice cold as these entities were coming out. So beware, don't create that. If you have the urge to masturbate, avoid the particular repetitive fantasies that create these things or attract them to you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Thank you so much. You guys are great. Let me just share with you one little thing, just one last little thing. On Saturday, I took my bicycle down to 7-Eleven. It was around 5 in the morning because I wake up early to go do community service. And the public phone rang, it was still dark and everything. And the public phone rang, and I looked at it, rang once. And I looked at it, I'm like, ah. And then I just passed by, and I picked it up. I don't know why I picked it up. And then there was the operator lady that I never heard before, because, usually the operators, they all sound the same. And she said, please wait one moment. And then all of a sudden, this, ugly, nasty noise just started being out 5 or 6 times, it was so loud, and I got so scared because I was hearing about super soldiers, and it's the same thing though. It's the same exact thing. Some people say, "Oh, it's probably the government, the demons." It's same people, same. So that was pretty crazy. But as soon as I heard that, I just put my guard up because I knew it was I had a feeling that they were trying to mess with me, or it was just something, or trying to activate something, or trying to the demon inside me probably trying to make it more. But I just put my guard up. I put my strong heart, my mind, and I hung up, and I didn't even think about it, But that was pretty creepy. That was pretty weird. I never heard, that was weird.
Yeah, you know what you had, something I experience often, there will be a kind of warp in the electromagnetic communication. I had talked to friends and it turned completely robotic, that it sounded like
almost every time you're on the show here.
I know, and I've come to realize, I think that these are interdimensional beings and they are disturbing the frequencies. I'm not so sure whether it's government, or I do know that and believe that government has these abilities. It is very interesting that there is such a synchronicity, or a similarity is a better word, between what the dark ops in the government are doing to people and what the entities are doing. So I have personally come to the conclusion that what the dark forces behind the government are doing is a kind of high-tech sorcery that is mimicking with machinery and equipment what negative entities do directly to us spiritually.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, wow. Thank you, guys.
They got their training. But, hey, it's that time. We have to take a short break. I want to thank you so much for your call and being so willing to be open and honest and Really awesome. Thank you so much. And good
Love you guys.
to you with that. Love you too. Have a wonderful evening. And yeah, it is that time. We're going to take a short break. We will be back at the top of the hour with the lovely Shaman Avalon Sakti. Her website is sacredserpent.net. Tons of excellent information there. And if you do need help with entity removal, she's the woman. Okay, seriously, she freaking rocks. But it is that time. Stay tuned. SoulJourneysRadio.com.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
No rules, no rules. No taboo topics, no taboo topics. No fear of doom, no fear of doom. We are American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio.
All right. Welcome back. Top of the second hour here tonight. Soul Journeys Radio on AmericanFreedomRadio.com with our special guest tonight, Shaman Avalon Sakti. We are blessed to have her join us the first Tuesday of every month here on Soul Journeys Radio. Her website is sacredserpent.net. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to give us a call, 218-339-8525. That's 218-339-8525. And if you'd like to join us in the text chat, that's over at souljourneysradio.com. Big topic tonight, resisting mind control and entity manipulation. And I don't know, would you say, Sakti, recognizing it as kind of the first step in healing it and resisting?
Yes, recognizing is the first step, because if you don't know that you're being manipulated, then you can't do anything about it, and you won't even think that you might have to do something.
Yeah. Oh, not me. It's just everyone else.
Yeah. And then the next step is you need to own your own mind, because if you're not totally in control of it, then something else can take control of it. And to own your own mind means you need to make every part of your mind conscious. For most people, a greater part of their mind is unconscious. They don't really know what drives them and what makes them act the way they do. So that means you have to always examine your motives, your emotions, your thoughts, as I said before, and try to be conscious of things and not walk around in a daze. There are people that are 24 hours basically on their Walkman. I knew one man, he was on his Walkman and he couldn't take the Walkman off even for meditation. He said no, he couldn't stand it without his Walkman. It was a horrible feeling. And people hanging on the cell phones, on the internet all day. You're in this negative energy field with the wireless frequencies. I've seen people, young girls like 14, walking on the street like a zombie with a cell phone on the side of the head, kind of lopsided. The way they were walking, they could have played in a zombie movie. And people aren't fully present. They always spaced out. So you need to learn to be fully present and not be spaced out, because when you're spaced out, you're partially out and something else then can come in while you're not in the driver's seat.
We see that a lot, always having the music playing, or always have one of your devices going, or people who fall asleep to the TV, all the time, every day, hours and hours, and you're so right. We don't even know who we are anymore. So you suggest it's important to take that time to disconnect, to really figure out what's going on in our mind, or at least familiarize ourselves with it. Okay.
People need silence. The reason why people like the constant blather of the TV and the radio is because they are terribly afraid of what they would find if they look deep within themselves. I found that over and over again when I asked people, they said they don't want to meditate and they're afraid of what they might find. Then I said, what do you think you could find? And he said, something terrible. And I, like what? That I'm evil. Or that there is nothing in there. And I said, that's not going to happen. So it's a fear that people have that maybe what they find is something they can't handle. They're basically afraid of themselves. And they cannot stand to be in their own company and have a good look at themselves.
Yeah.
So it is really important to have times of silence. All my really good ideas that I had in my writing came out from silence, from times when I had nobody around me. I was totally alone. And I thought deeply. I like deep thinking. Most people don't like deep thinking anymore. They're shallow thinkers. So get into the habit of spending some time alone in nature where it's quiet, and leave that cell phone at home. And sit with a tree or look out at the sea on the beach quietly without somebody talking to you. And just look, feel the nature, and just get in touch with your soul, your inner self, and listen to the voice of your inner self so that you know the difference in these entities.
Definitely. Okay, very good advice on that. Now, let's say you've done that introspection and you're realizing this doesn't seem quite right. What do we do next?
Yeah, so if you notice that some manipulation is going on, then you can reject the thought that is being put in your mind, yeah? So if the entity is saying something like kill or something, you just have to say no way. And if the entity says that I hate my mother, you'll say, no, I love my mother. Maybe she has got some flaws, but I love my mother. And just don't listen to it. There was one time when entities tried that with me. So I took the vacuum cleaner and I was doing, incredible vacuum cleaning up and down the whole house, trying to distract myself. Didn't work too well. And then... it helps sometimes. Just distracting yourself and being in a hectic activity is better than sitting idly. But when it doesn't work, then it much better would be to just repeat the mantra. Even just Om. If you just chant Om, entities can't stand Om. Just chant.
Okay. All right. Well, that's really good advice. I know sometimes when I get some thoughts that I'd rather not think, at least recently, it's helped for me to just grab the crochet needle and, just kind of do something. It's kind of a meditation in itself, as well as, of course, gardening and other things we talk about here on the show. But, Shakti, when it comes to the mind, of course, you're talking about owning your own mind. Many people will say to me that they feel that they have no control over it, and will use the term that they suffer from invasive thoughts. What are your thoughts on that? Uh-oh. Did we lose you again? Ah, darn. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Oh, that's so weird because she's here, but we're not allowed to hear her. Did I hear? Oh, you're back? Okay. Yes. All right. Here we go again. I don't know. Were you able to hear my question?
No.
Okay. It was in regards, yes, it was in regards to, controlling our own mind or owning our own mind. Many people will tell me that they believe that they have no control over their mind, and some have used the terms that they are suffering from invasive thoughts outside themselves. So how can we kind of get our mind to work for us rather than, just let anything that wants to occupy it do so?
Basically, you have to strengthen your mind the way that a bodybuilder strengthens his body. Yeah. And you can do that. For example, you begin with concentration. Before you can actually meditate, you need to know how to concentrate. Before you concentrate, you need to know how to withdraw the senses. So withdrawal of the senses so that you don't get bothered by little noise outside, or if you suddenly feel hungry, or if you smell something that distracts you. So you have to get into a habit that whenever you want to discipline the mind, like you would train your dog. I'm having problems with that at the moment. Yes. So you discipline the mind by, when you want it to focus on one thing, it has to focus on that one thing and not be distracted. You have to learn to avoid distraction, or that you can get a job done even if you're in physical pain. You can focus on what needs to be done. These are things that will help your mind to function. So you have to get into a mental discipline and not let the mind just run around, jump around like a wild monkey, going in whatever negative grooves it normally goes by habit, like into the self-pity groove and so on, yeah? These are kind of tracks that the mind has made that always work, the manipulation, the self-pity, and so on, the anger. And if you recognize it and you discipline the mind, whenever it wants to think of something negative, you focus it on something positive, divine, and uplifting.
Okay, so you can kind of turn that around. It's like I talk about, with the self-hate that we women, actually I think all of us, like to do to ourselves. Oh, I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm stupid, I'm no good. Just when you catch yourself saying that, just turn it around. I'm beautiful, I'm healthy, I can do this. And yeah, so just remain conscious of it as best you can. Because yeah, they might be your thoughts, or maybe not, and yeah, they might be in your mind, but you don't have to own them. They really are just thoughts, and thoughts are just energy. So let me ask you this, Shakti. Somebody came to the show late, or at least the chat late. They heard you talking about dreams and nightmares earlier, and so they ask, if we have a repeated nightmare dream, but we're fearless in them, does that mean that they, as an entities, are inside me already? Or is it that I've mastered that negative entity?
No, it doesn't mean that they're inside of you already. That's not right. That means you should then be fighting them. Okay, if you're fearless, that's very good, because by fear you're actually opening yourself up to the entity. So the first thing is to be fearless, but then don't let them hang in your space. You need to get rid of them and banish them permanently.
Okay. And is that something that we can do on our own, or is that something that we need to get a little help for, like from, a master like yourself?
I feel really embarrassed when you say that, Christie.
I'm sorry, I can't help it. It's not my fault. You're like the most talented woman on the planet.
Nah, don't do the ego thing, because otherwise I have to cut down my ego to size later. Okay. And anyway, yes, sometimes you can do it yourself, but it depends on, your abilities, your spiritual and psychic abilities. There are various ways of, evicting the entities. You can have them extracted by a shaman. They do come out with certain sacred plants when you take them, but these plants are being made illegal everywhere, so it's kind of a bit tricky. Sometimes when you do mantras, they come out through mantra yoga or through many years of spiritual practices and meditations. Sometimes during meditation, you're lucky you can evict them. And one time when I had astral parasites, I was able to fight them in the dream state and kung fu them. And then I was free of them. It was quite a really nice experience. Finally I could give them what I wanted to give them all the time. Yeah. So there are various ways of clearing them, and some people can manage on their own, and other people are hopelessly lost. Or if the entities are very, very strong, or they're affecting somebody young, I very often get contacted by mothers whose 14, 15, 16-year-old daughters are under a full-on attack by the entities. So in this case, sometimes the child or the youngster is not strong enough to fight them on their own. And then it's good to get professional help.
Okay, now let me ask you this. I'd like to talk about some of the ways that we open ourselves up to entities, possessions, etc. But, the thought came to mind that people are, they think we're absolutely crazy, even talking about this, or even thinking that something outside ourselves could be contributing to any of these issues we're talking tonight. In fact, one of the comments on the post about the show, somebody said, well, this is, garbage. Demonology is nothing more than spiritual racism. We're all one. And then, of course, there's others that'll say, well, this is just all in your head. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think this is somebody who's following this whole communist agenda. Well, look at it. The shamans for thousands of years have known about these entities, and all spiritual traditions talk about them. In Christianity, they call them demons. The Buddhists know about these negative entities and demons, and they got mantras to cast them out. In Hinduism, you got the same thing. I've spoken to Chinese people who were into Taoism. They also knew about it. So either these people were all delusional in all cultures, or there is something to it. And then the Gnostics, they were talking about the archons and how they influence us. There is an unseen world. We know that from too many people having the same experience, that we cannot just dismiss it by just mumbling some spiritual platitudes like we are all one, and that's supposed to be the proof that there are no entities. Lies and leeches exist. We are all one. Where's the proof there that they don't exist?
Yeah. I mean, everyone's free to believe whatever they want to believe.
Exactly.
Believe that this is all hokey and garbage and great. Perfect. If that's
personally,
for you.
I don't see at all what this has to do with racism, because we haven't talked about race at all.
Yeah.
We talked about spiritual entities.
I thought that was kind of interesting. I've never heard that perspective, but that's okay.
But
I guess we're spiritual racists.
But whoever put that in, I would think it might be written by his own entities right now, who try to just cause a negative energy in the show so that we don't talk about the really important stuff.
Yeah, what I've noticed is the people that, at least in my experience, that want to try to convince you that none of this is real, there's no such thing as, possessions or entities or vampires or any of that, they're the vampires themselves. So if they can get your mind off that and, it doesn't exist, well, obviously, they have an opportunity to drain you even further, as they're telling you that what they're doing to you doesn't really exist and it's all in your head. So, Anyways, okay, enough of that. So let's get into how some of the things that we do that we might not be aware of that open ourselves up to entities, such as that wonderful caller we had that shared some of his addictions and things like that. I heard the music. Okay, bad timing on that question. But we will answer that when we get back right after this short break. Stay tuned, everyone. Shaman Avalon Sakti here on SoulJourneysRadio.com.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
Welcome to the world's meeting place. American
It's practically narcotic.
Freedom
Oh, yes. I like very much.
Radio.
You're an American institution.
American Freedom Radio.
All right, welcome back, and thanks for joining us here tonight with Shaman Avalon Sakti here on SoulJourneysRadio.com. The topic tonight, resisting mind control and entity manipulation. And we have lots of questions in the chat, so we do want to talk about, or finish talking about how we open ourselves up to entities and other things. However, a really important question came in for Shakti, so Shakti, what are you spiritually wearing?
Does that mean what color I'm wearing? Well, I'm wearing a purple sweater, and if you want to know about the color of my aura, I think I keep that secret.
All right, so a purple sweater. Okay, now we can get back to business. And a purple sweater and nothing else, right?
I do have pants on.
Okay.
Gray velvet.
Okay, so Newfoundland's happy. We got their question in. All right. You know those Newfies. Okay. So,
Right.
yeah, we were talking about some of the things that we unwittingly may be doing that is opening ourselves up to entity attachments.
Yeah. Mostly when you're not present inside your body, which happens when you're taking drugs or drink alcohol. So drugs and alcohol are the absolute no-nos. You are much easier to be taken over by entities if you take those. And if you take drugs regularly, you can be 100% sure that you have entities. And, well, anything that... sometimes also when you're unconscious because something knocked your head or you'd been in the hospital and you had surgery, so you were given anesthesia, that can open you up to entities also when the body is injured, say you have wounds or cuts, entities, that means there will also be opening in the etheric body and entities can come in. Then if you have soul loss, shamanic soul loss, I've got a page on that, Christie. Maybe you can put a link, please.
Definitely.
When people suffer a soul loss, a piece of their soul leaves them. That leaves a vulnerability in the energy body so that the entities can come in. Then, unfortunately, rape and sexual abuse open people up to entities, and that's basically being done intentionally by some of the dark forces to so many people now. Children that were abused, whether that was sexually or in other ways, leaves them with an opening in the energy field, often at the psychic gate, and they are very, very easy to be taken over.
Okay. All right. Now, you mentioned cuts and wounds are also a way where entities can come in, but can it also work the other way around, where it's kind of a bloodletting, so to speak, of maybe getting some out?
That's difficult to say. I mean, they were doing all this thing with leeches and bloodletting people in the old times when the doctors were pretty much quacks. But maybe there was some kind of spiritual truth to it that we haven't understood. I'm not aware of this, Christie. Honestly, I don't know the answer here exactly.
Okay, I'm just wondering because it felt like, I'll just speak on my experience, but with, you know, what happened to my hand in December after I had just left a very, draining event, it felt to me like it was kind of a cleansing in a way. Not obviously it hurt, and I definitely didn't ask for it and all of those things, but I was just wondering the possibility of maybe some injuries being a way to let them out.
Well, the body tries to throw the entities out when you're taking certain plants. For example, with ayahuasca, you will vomit the entities out.
Oh, yeah, and poop them out. Okay, all right. So it is possible. Definitely, maybe we can do some further discussion on that in the future. I don't want to get too wrapped up in that, but yeah, I think, I don't know, all things are possible.
And,
let me ask you this.
I forgot one more thing, Christie, that I want to put in because it's important. One very common way of getting entities is sexual intercourse with negative people.
Yes, like one of the easiest ways.
Yeah, and that's like very common. I mean, the entities get transferred even more than the sexually transmissible diseases. So,
definitely. Well, that's why they use sex, rape, anal sex specifically in ritual abuse and, mind controlling, programming children. I mean, it makes sense. So, yeah, be careful who you're lying down with, people.
Makes a very sick sense, yeah. It's very sad what's happening in this reality, and we can turn this around, but then we really need to straighten ourselves out. Everyone has to look at their problems and clean their act up. If enough people do this, we can really, really change this around.
Definitely. I agree with that. Now, I think in the last segment you mentioned some sacred plants that may be able to help us in entity or demonic type removals. And somebody's asking if you could share with us some plants that, and I know we've done a whole show or maybe 2 shows on this before, so we don't need to spend too much time, but if you can kind of throw out a few sacred plants that could be used in entity removal and possessions.
The only one that I know for sure that can remove entities is ayahuasca, and that's not legal anymore in America or Europe, not as far as I know. So mostly you have to go to the Amazon forest to do it now without getting into legal troubles. And not everybody has got that money.
Yeah.
So, but it is very, very powerful on removing entities. But on the other hand, if you're not ready for that, you might be quite shell-shocked afterwards. I've spoken to people who had one single session and they were shell-shocked for a year. So
wow.
If you really want to do that, yes. If you really want to do that, you need to prepare yourself by purification, correct diet. You need to have very clear intention. It has to be prepared in a sacred way with special songs that are sung over it. It's not just cook it up in your pot in the kitchen and then take it. That's not going to work. And it won't do you any good. And you need a proper shaman in the ceremony, because if very dark and negative things come up and you can't handle it, you need somebody who can not just keep you calm, but can actually remove these entities as they're coming to the surface. So this is something, if you want to go into it, research it and then do it where it's legal, and make sure that you prepare yourself spiritually before you get into this. It's a very, very big undertaking. It can be very beautiful and very sacred, but you want to do it in the right way and not get in any trouble, neither legal nor spiritual.
Yeah, we definitely don't need any legal demonic entities after us.
Yeah, I think they exist.
They're the worst.
The bloodsucker professions, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know which is worse, the ones you can see or the ones you can't see, but yeah. I'd prefer to keep them out of my business. So, and I don't know if it's like this in Europe, Shakti, but here in the U.S., there are certain churches, like, mainly in the Southwest, at least the ones that I'm aware of, Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, etc., where it is actually legal for them to do ayahuasca ceremony, peyote, etc. So, of course, you might have to, you can't just walk in and say, hi, I want some ayahuasca right now. But if you are living in those areas, perhaps you can find a little church or group that you can fit into that might work for you here in the States. Do you have something like that in Europe, Shakti?
Not that I'm aware of. They're really cracking down on that now, and they don't even accept spiritual reasons anymore, because it is a very sacred thing. For me, it has always been a sacred communion and connection to the gods, but, they're trampling over our rights left and right. So if you're lucky in America and you have that, and you find something, as you said, Christie, where you fit in the group, then why not? But otherwise, I would advise people to do other ways of dealing with these entities, because you can do it through meditation and through mantras as well. Mantras can kick the entities out, and the Kundalini awakening will kick it out big time. So eventually, when you spiritually grow, these things will leave you because your vibration changes, so you become very unpleasant to them. You will be untasty food.
Okay.
And they're going to look for something more yummy, somebody on a lower vibe, and they'll just leave.
Okay. Now, I was looking at your article. Oops, I'm looking at the wrong one here because I posted, here we go, the negative entities. Once again, her website is sacredserpent.net. There are tons of articles, seriously, like jam-packed with information. So definitely check it out. And if you did tune in late, her article on negative entities will kind of explain what they are, some of the different possibilities, how they might affect you, how they get in. Oh, wait. That's funny. We just talked about that. Okay. And how to get rid of them, of course. I know that we've done some shows in the past on like soul retrieval and entities and such. But if you would share with us, because you are so damn good at it, what it's like when you do an entity removal. Are they all the same, or is each individual, unique on how you deal with it?
It also depends on whether I do an entity removal on somebody who's physically present or on somebody that I'm working on the astral, basically from a distance, remotely. If somebody is physically present, then I might be working with the rattles to remove the entities, to pull them out, and with certain sacred sounds. When I'm working remotely, basically working on the energy body of the client, then I won't need the rattles, but I do sometimes chant. I do use sacred sounds that help me get there, and certain mantras, and then I pull them out and I see them. They come in various forms, shapes, and sizes, more than you could ever believe. Or
yeah. Here we go again. I guess you're just not allowed to talk about that with us tonight, Shakti.
And
Shakti, you cut out again. So
where did I cut out? Where should I go back to?
Yeah, the things that you have seen, they're all different shapes and sizes, and then boom.
All right. So I said that if I'm working on the astral, then I will take it out, sometimes with sacred sounds or mantras, various methods. And then when it's coming out, then it will get destroyed, so it cannot come back to the person. Has that answered your question, Christie, or is still something missing?
Yeah, I think so. It's just I think a few people are kind of curious on your procedure and working with you, and you've done such a fine job. So I guess that you can deal with anyone anywhere in the world over Skype. So you don't actually have to be in Europe, sitting in your living room or anything. You come to us.
Yeah, but I don't remove the entities over Skype, by the way.
Yeah, that's true.
Sometimes I think there are some entities in Skype. No, I remove them basically
Skype is an entity.
On the etheric planes from people's spirit's body. So that's true. I don't have a limitation with traveling there, because I can go any place very fast and connect with anybody. All I really need is your name and the location, and I can connect to you.
That's true. In fact, you did it with me 3 years ago without even knowing where I was. We never even talked about that. You just knew my name, and then you described everything. And then I remember when I was on a road trip, I was in Pennsylvania. I saw you hovering over me. And I'm like, oh, she's checking on me. So, yeah, you're very talented. There's been other times where, like, your hair has kind of tickled me, and so, yeah, you're definitely a very talented traveler. And so as far as the procedure goes, though, as you said, you don't actually do it on Skype. You schedule a time where you're going to do the journey and where they should be like either in bed or meditating or resting or something somewhere.
Yeah.
And then you do the Skype session afterwards.
Yeah, just lying down and relaxing and eyes closed, and then at the time that we arrange, and then after that I'll discuss on Skype what happened and explain and ready to answer any questions.
Okay. Now, I know we talked about some of the issues you dealt with me, and there's other people in the chat that you've worked on that, had a really large energy cord. So can you explain the differences in the different entities or cords or attachments you might experience, like a big, thick, large cord as opposed to a really small, spiny, wiry one? Of course, there's the music, so we'll hold that question till after the break. Hang on, everyone. Stay tuned. We will be right back with Shaman Avalon Sakti here on SoulJourneysRadio.com.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
News and information you can trust. This is American Freedom Radio. Freedom, American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio.
All right, welcome back, and thanks for joining us here tonight. This is the last segment with Shaman Avalon Sakti, and I just noticed we have a caller on the line as well. So we will get to you in just a moment. If I guess getting back to the question before the break, why are some entities or their attachments bigger than others?
It just depends on the severity of the infection that people have. So, same as, somebody may have a worse stomach pain than another person.
Yeah.
So it means that it was particularly powerful. It might have been there longer in some cases. Or you have a karmic connection with it, can also be the case.
Okay. And I know you want to share with us some more, advice, I guess, on entity removal and reprogramming, resisting mind control, which is the topic tonight. But we do have a caller on the line, so we'll get to this real quickly. We just have a couple minutes. Area code 801. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. It's my lucky day to get through.
All right. Well, what do you have for us?
Well, I just happened to tune in when Shakti's talking about something that's kind of a sensitive thing from, kind of something I'm dealing with. So I thought it would be a good time to call. So,
Excellent.
And just if we wanted to have a session with you, the only way we can contact you is by email. You don't have a phone number or anything, or?
No, and I would never put my phone number out in private. You can contact me via email. And then
that's on your...
We can speak on Skype, yeah. You just click the email button on my website.
On your website, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend who's helped me with some things. He can go out of body, and he's a Chinese guy. He's done does healing and things, but sometimes it can be, I think it's hard to know who can really help you with certain problems, and it's interesting because he's been able to help me with pretty much everything, and he really helped me build my body up and get stronger and everything, because I've had some health problems, and so I was really strong, got really strong and healthy and doing sports and everything, and but then when I was 44, something happened that really, and it was interesting because he warned me that was the one thing that if it happened, I would really be in trouble. I mean, my health would really go downhill, and I would be really sick. And because I guess he told me this was my last life, and that there's certain things I couldn't slip up, where I couldn't make certain mistakes. And so I'm just wondering, because I don't want to believe that there's no hope for me. I mean, I don't want to believe that I'm going to be sick the rest of my life,
Okay, good question. I won't worry about it, because if you've done something wrong in your past life and earned a bad karma from that, there can be karmic adjustments by doing an opposite action or doing a sadhana with repeating mantras. So there are spiritual antidotes to that, and so that this karma can be neutralized, and then the disease doesn't have to stick with you anymore. And this is a bit complex, but you can contact me via my website, and if you want to, maybe we can set up just like a spiritual guidance session of half an hour, and then we can discuss that in depth.
Okay, great. So what you're saying is that
you got hope.
Maybe
there's no
maybe.
You got hope.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to. It's hard, when you feel like you're on such a high level and then you fall, and it's really.
I know what you say.
It's really been. It's really been scary. It's been scary because.
Happened to me too. Really, honestly, I know what you're talking about. But that's also part of the process. Is you get built up to a point, and then you get broken down to like tiny shattered shards of who you were, and that usually happens before you go much higher spiritually. So it's part of the process, so that you experience the fall, and then remember the state that you had, the high state, as a motivation. You will go there and even beyond.
Wow.
Awesome.
So from your past life, that can actually be part of the reason that you made the mistake again?
Yeah, it can set you up, because it can be a pattern that you have established that it's hard to break out. I would have to look at exactly what's going on. Maybe would have to do some past life work. Why don't you email me first and then tell me the story in the email? I'm going to read it, and then I'll set something up with you. I think it would be good to have a consultation session or like spiritual guidance, so that we can just talk a bit longer than here on the show, and then we get to the bottom of this. Find a way forward for you.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you. And thanks for your show, Christie.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thanks for calling in, and there is hope. Okay, you'll be just fine. I promise.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I hope.
All right, night. Thanks so much. And we have about 4 minutes left. So, Shakti, I know you had a lot of things you wanted to share with us, some remedies. So.
Yeah. So
shoot.
I go through. Here's what you can do. First of all, be the witness of all your emotions and of your mind. The impartial witness. So whatever happens, witness it, but don't identify with it. Be fully present. That means don't be spaced out. Don't be drunk or under drugs. Know your own mind, so that you can recognize when something goes on in your mind that isn't of you. Control your emotions. Learn to overcome anger and negative emotions. Forgive, apologize, and make up, even if you.
Of course, we're not allowed to share remedies here in our last few minutes. So hopefully we'll get shocked. Oh, there you are. Okay, I'm sorry, honey. You you cut out again. Yeah.
Practice concentration and meditation. I also said be gentle, generous, and loving. Replace negative thoughts by positive thoughts. know your triggers and deactivate them, develop virtues and ethics, have principles and stick to them, and develop discipline.
All right. Well, that sounds like a nice list we can all get working on. Did y'all write it down? Our spiritual to-do list, right?
Yes. Glue it on the fridge and look at it every day and keep working at it.
Now, maybe you can give us a little insight in our last couple minutes here because, you know, I talked to someone today, and it's pretty much every day. Everybody thinks that, oh, well, I read this somewhere, or this person told me this is the only true way, etc. So how do you know which way is right for you?
Well, the best is if you're in touch with your soul and your higher mind, then you will be shown the way because you activate the inner guru when your third eye opens.
Mm-hmm.
Then you won't need the outer guru.
Yeah. Okay, because, I mean, I know some people, what's moral to some is immoral to another and vice versa. And I think when it comes to your healing and cleansing, it's, you know, what works for you. I mean, obviously, let's talk about morality here. They say it's wrong to murder or to kill, but it's okay if you're a military killing millions in one shot, right? So it's try not to get distracted with what others say are best for you, unless, of course, it's a spiritual, you know, teacher or mentor or someone you trust who you've built a rapport with, and somebody who's not just telling you, you know, oh, you're doing this wrong and you have to keep coming back to me for me to fix you. Somebody who's going to actually teach you and propel you up, give you the power that you need to take care of it yourself. Would you agree with that, Shakti?
I think the ultimate and the only way of deciding what is right and wrong for you is your own conscience.
Yeah.
That alone.
Yeah, and just beware, you know, there's a lot of people out there that, oh, I'm a guru, I'm a master, I'm a teacher, I can do this for you, blah, blah, blah. You know what? The proof is in the pudding. You know, by their fruits you will know them. And Shakti and Tobias are definitely, I mean, I've said it for years and I'll say it again. I believe, I mean, in my opinion and my experience, they're the best. They actually teach you and give you the knowledge that you need so you don't have to go back to them, okay? They're not like doctors, oh, you know, take two, call me in the morning, and by the way, let's schedule you next week and the week after and this and that, okay? So, you know, choose wisely and trust your heart, trust your intuition, and I definitely think Shakti is a fine choice, probably the best choice for entities, removing attachments, soul retrievals, past lives, etc. So, boom! Her website is sacredserpent.net. I'm so sorry we're out of time. You did awesome tonight, Shakti. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Christy, for having me.
All right. Well, we will see you next month with Shakti again. I'm so sorry. I think I've been saying first all night. It's the second Tuesday of the month. Oh, my goodness. First Tuesday is Heather. Second Tuesday is Shakti. So, again, if you've missed any of our previous shows, you can get the archives. Just go to souljourneysradio.com, click on forum. If you go to the archives, there's a thread, a whole section with every single show she's done, and you can kind of catch up on some of these topics we touched up on tonight. But thank you again, Shakti, and thank you all for joining us.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
You're listening to the future of talk. American Freedom Radio. This is American Freedom Radio.